My name is Shilpi, and I'm going to be discussing Macbeth, Act 3, Scene 4. Now, the scene begins with Macbeth and Lady Macbeth greeting and inviting everyone pleasantly into the banquet. They seem very composed right now and pleasing, but we know that's not the case, and inwardly they're both tormented, psychologically, by their horrific acts. Macbeth then steps aside to speak to the murderer, who tells him that Banquo is dead. Macbeth says it's better for Banquo's blood to be on the murderer than flowing through Banquo, keeping him alive. In line 14, "'Tis better thee without than he within." At first, Macbeth praises the murderer for killing Banquo, but when he's told that Fleance has escaped, he's afraid once again. In his metaphor, he refers to Banquo and Fleance as a snake and a worm, respectively. He says that Fleance has no teeth for the present, but he must be careful and wary for the future, but right now, Fleance isn't a threat to him. Lady Macbeth comes and tries to get Macbeth to be a better host. Their image needs to stay good in front of everyone, and Macbeth tries to be good-natured. They're both very eager to please the guests and to seem hospitable, and it's almost like they're trying to make up for killing Duncan. No one knows that they're the ones who did it. However, their own conscience seems to be the reason behind their eagerness to satisfy others. At the table, Macbeth makes a quick toast and says to all of them that he hopes Banquo is late only because of discourtesy and not because something has happened to him. His blatant lie of concern for Banquo's welfare shows that the power of being king has really gone to his head now. In Act 1 and 2, he would pale at the thought of killing Duncan or harming him, and he was panicking after he'd done it. He wasn't in a state where he could speak to anyone coherently, let alone lie, and his acts were dominated more by Lady Macbeth. Now, in this scenario, Lady Macbeth had no involvement whatsoever in the plot of Banquo's murder, and Macbeth planned the whole thing. From his character, it's slowly becoming quite evident what will be leading to his downfall. Now, Macbeth sees the ghost of Banquo in his chair and becomes quite frightened. His guilt seems to resurface here, when he says in lines 50 to 51, "Thou canst not say I didn't, never shake thy gory locks at me." Whether the ghost is actually there but only visible to Macbeth, or whether Macbeth is hallucinating due to the remorse in his subconscious is unclear right now. But the fact that Macbeth immediately says that Banquo can't accuse him of murder, so he shouldn't, shows that even though he seems to have done horrible acts in desire for the throne, inside he's still a good person regretful for doing all these things. Lady Macbeth and Macbeth may seem fine now, and they've got everything that they wanted, but mentally they seem to be impaired and damaged beyond repair. Now here, when everyone starts getting worried for the king, Lady Macbeth tries to cover up for Macbeth by saying he does this sometimes, and tells them to enjoy while she speaks aside with him. In line 58, she tells him, "Are you a man?" The idea of being a man and masculinity comes up a lot in the play, and Lady Macbeth specifically uses it a lot to manipulate Macbeth. She says it here in a way of telling him to pull himself together. A man wouldn't lose control of himself in the company of guests. Macbeth can see the ghost which no one else can, and he says he's a bold man, that dare look on that which might appall the devil. But Lady Macbeth continues to ridicule Macbeth's masculinity when she tells him he's hallucinating, just like the floating dagger from Act 2. She says this isn't true fear, and he's simply looking at a chair. Macbeth is still convinced that Banquo is sitting there, so he challenges the ghost. In his next lines he says, "Why? What care I?" He's very obviously afraid that the ghost of Banquo will reveal Macbeth's true nature, but he's still aware that it's a ghost. So he uses mockery as a weapon against his fear, saying that the ghost can't do anything to him. But there is insecurity laced within his words. Lady Macbeth at this point is furious at him for behaving this way, possibly because the others might notice something and be suspicious of them. However, in this section, Macbeth is very confused, and to a certain extent, he's also amused. At this part, he completely believes that the ghost is not just some hallucination, as he says that the time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die, and there an end. But now they rise again. Basically saying that usually, to the extent of his knowledge, when a man dies, that's the end of it. But now he's seeing someone rise back again. Lady Macbeth quickly reminds him once again that there are guests, to whom Macbeth immediately turns back to, pretending to brush off this incident as a strange infirmity, which is nothing. Once again, his quick recovery is a drastic contrast to the previous acts, where anything slightly out of the ordinary that was threatening to him left him shaken and jumbled. He begins to drink with the rest of them, once again trying to be jovial and attentive to his guests, but the ghost of Banquo reappears, causing Macbeth to go into frenzy. In line 95, he says, "Thou hast no speculation in those eyes." It's almost as if he's trying to reassure and convince himself that the ghost is not real. He resorts to threatening the ghost of Banquo, saying that no matter how terrifying Banquo may show himself to be, his firm nerves shall never tremble. Macbeth then questions his guests as to why they can behold such sights and keep the natural rub of their cheeks, and why they aren't afraid of the ghost like Macbeth is. And at this, Lady Macbeth immediately tells everyone to leave as the king is getting worse, because she knows that everyone else is getting more and more doubtful by the second. In the next part, Macbeth speaks about the dead getting revenge. In line 122, "It will have blood, they say. Blood will have blood." He's obviously referring to Banquo at this point, and he talks about justice always being served. It's obvious that he's distressed and disturbed regarding the ghost, and he probably believes that this is a sign that he's going to get caught. In a way, Macbeth almost foreshadows his own downfall here, which terrifies him and leads him to make his next decision. At this point, Macbeth has really fallen to his last resort, because he doesn't seem to find any other solution. He wishes to speak to the witches once again, as he wants to know more about everything. He seems quite desperate right now to rid himself of this remorse he feels in him, which is driving him mad, and even going to the witches, he feels he has nothing to lose. He has stepped in so far that should he wade no more, it would still be just as difficult to turn around. He's no longer the same Macbeth that he was in the previous acts. He mentions that he doesn't want to think too much about the bad things that he must do, but he just wants to do them so they're over with, without giving them too much thought. Lady Macbeth and Macbeth have almost switched places in the scene, because Lady Macbeth seems to hold the voice of reason here, as she tells him that he needs to sleep before he makes rash decisions. Although in Act 1, it was him who was telling her that they would discuss things further later on. Macbeth is clearly hanging on by a thread here, as we can see him slowly be ruled by his desire and greed, and also by his fear. And that is Act 3, Scene 4. Thank you.